I have done all of the exercises. I've tried them all and it's not working. It's not helping. I still have pain. I wasn't able to do the exercises. Now you're feeling dismissed, like discouraged. You're wondering what is wrong. And then you're starting to feed into that belief that maybe this really is just what pregnancy is like, or maybe this really is just what it feels like after you have kids.
You are listening to Belly Birth Beyond with Pelvic Floor Momma, hosted by Becca Boving, a PTA, mom of two, and now your go-to pelvic floor coach. Welcome to the safe space where no topics of motherhood are off limits and judgment is left at the door. Too many mamas are dismissed when they've got valid concerns. If you're sick of hearing that's normal when it feels otherwise, keep listening.
Hey mama, I'm so glad you're here. Whether this is your first time listening to Belly Birth Beyond or you're returning after last week's episode, which was very heavy as I shared a personal story. I want to talk today about something that I hear so often from moms, and it's, I have done all of the exercises. I've tried them all, and it's not working. It's not helping. I still have pain. I wasn't able to do the exercises. Now you're feeling dismissed, like discouraged. You're wondering what is wrong. And then you're starting to feed into that belief that maybe this really is just what pregnancy is like, or maybe this really is just what it feels like after you have kids. And I think this is the biggest disconnect between what your pelvic floor really does and what your body needs. It's not just exercises. So a lot of you probably know I created the BSR method. This method is really important because we're not even talking about exercise right away. There was a mom I had who was 3.5 years postpartum. She had been leaking, like peeing her pants when she stood up, when she coughed, sneezed, every time she picked up the dog. And she had to like pick up the dog to put the dog in the car anytime she picked up her toddler. And she had tried pelvic floor PT after birth. She just kind of lived with it and it's hard to take care of yourself when you're taking care of other humans. They always come first. You're like, I'll get to it eventually. And then finally it gets to a point where it's so bad. You're like, I have to do something about it. And then you start searching, right? And this could be years down the line. So this mom was 3.5 years. We sat down and I taught her the basics of the BSR method. Like I introduced this method to her. And within a week of her doing this method, she sent me a message saying she kept her underwear dry. She was able to cough, sneeze, and pick up the dog. Every single day she could pick up the dog and her child and not leak. And she goes, I haven't even gotten to the exercises you gave me. It's just from doing that method that you had taught me. And so this is something that I think so many moms need to hear. It's why are your exercises, the exercises that you're doing, not working? And here's the thing, those exercises aren't fixing what is going on. They're just temporarily, if that works, they're temporarily relieving the pain or discomfort. But as soon as you're done doing them or within a few hours of doing them, the pain is right back to where it was. And it's not getting better each day. Each day it's like starting to get worse. It's getting harder to roll over and get dressed, and walking now feels really challenging. You're having a hard time keeping up with your other children at home. It just feels defeating. And the reason why is because exercises aren't solely fixing the problem. Okay. The BSR method starts with the basics of your pelvic floor. And it's not just doing kegels. It's not just learning how, it's not just sitting at a red light doing kegels or just doing more of them. In fact, you know this, I don't teach kegels. I don't use that terminology. It has nothing to do with the BSR method. The basics of your pelvic floor comes from one, you need to learn how to breathe properly, correctly. So many of us don't do it correctly. And the reason why is a lot of different things. We wear bras that are too tight, especially if you're like pregnant and nursing, your breasts are constantly changing. It's hard to find something comfortable and that fits. You were like, society, I feel like, has had us in these like really tight jeans. Like remember when skinny jeans were a thing, and now we're back to like the flare boot cut, like bell bottom pants. Anyways, and that was a thing, tight leggings, everything is holding you in. And it's not allowing you to breathe properly. It's not allowing you to have that function that we have to be able to have a strong, supported pelvic floor. So breathing is a huge piece of this. The next piece is engaging your core, learning what does that even mean? What is engaging your core? What's tightening your core? What does that look like? What does that feel like? Am I doing it right? And this is a number one question I get a lot from moms too, is I don't know if this is right. I don't know how to know if this is right. So I dive into this further with the BSR method. And it's really important to have a strong core and be able to use your core correctly, because your pelvic floor is making up the bottom of your core. And so if your core is not strong, then your pelvic floor has to pick up the slack for it, because now it has to work harder to make up for the fact that your core is not doing what it should be doing or not doing what it could be doing. And then you have pelvic floor. So a lot of times it's not just pelvic floor contraction either. It's being able to relax your pelvic floor. But in order for your pelvic floor to be able to relax, you have to be able to breathe properly. You have to be able to use your core. Your core has to be strong. And then we have to also get our glutes involved, which we'll save that for another time. So the basics of your pelvic floor come first before anything else. There are no exercises. We're not doing any of that. You are simply learning to breathe, use your core, and use your pelvic floor. And then we take these basics, because you can't go to supporting your pelvis, which is really important during pregnancy and postpartum. It's just important in life in general, especially if you have back pain or hip pain, like any types of pain. It's really important to be able to support our pelvis appropriately. But you can't do that if you've skipped over the basics of your pelvic floor. If you haven't learned how to breathe correctly, if you haven't learned how to use your core, if you might not be using it correctly. I had a mom who was a very active, I think she was a collegiate athlete even, and she always went to the gym and worked out and was very strong. But she recently learned throughout her pregnancy too that she was never using her core the right way ever. And she was a collegiate athlete. And this is something that like I struggled with. I was a gymnast for 16 plus years. And even that was hard to be able to use your core correctly. And that's like all you do is core strengthening as a gymnast. But this is something that like we aren't taught how to do correctly. And we're not using like the body mechanics the right way, which I never like saying that word. I never thought I was a body mechanic type girl. But when we don't know how to breathe, we don't know how to use our core, and our pelvic floor is taking up all of the basically the slack, all the responsibility, because we can't do those things correctly, then we end up having some dysfunction, some pain, some leaking, things like that. So the BSR method breaks this down into learning the basics of your pelvic floor, which we've been talking about, supporting your pelvis with everything you do all day long. So exercises are great, but you know what's better? Being able to walk through your house without having pain, being able to take your kid for a walk or your dog for a walk, being able to lift the laundry basket or the groceries or your child or your purse or your bag or the diaper bag or the car seat without having pain, like being able to do the things that you do all day long, every single day without having pain. And exercises are great, but when you make changes to things you do all day, every day, that's where your pain relief comes from, because you're no longer having pain when you stand up. You're no longer having pain when you pick something up. You no longer have pain when you're walking. And that is where the change happens. And it's doing everything. It's in doing everything that you're already doing today. It's not adding extra things. It's not doing anything like that. It's literally supporting your body with things that you already do. Then we add in the R, which is restoring strength and stability in your body, which is just a fancy way of saying now we can add in some exercises, because now that you're able to learn the basics of your pelvic floor and support your pelvis, now we can teach those muscles how to work together and how to relax certain areas, right? This is where some of those exercises come into play. And this is where we need to find the appropriate ones for you. So you may be scrolling social media and Chat GPT and YouTube and trying to find all these exercises that are like, this is for this type of pain and try it, but it might not be what you need for you. So finding that personal effect, like that, what you need personally and how that's going to help support you. That's why these exercises just aren't working. Exercises are almost like a Band-Aid. Like you've been told to take Tylenol, use a belly band, heat, all of those things, but then they're not actually helping you with your pain. And I don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for belly bands, but if you are solely relying on a belly band, your core is getting weaker, your pelvic floor is having to still take up a lot of the pain or a lot of the slack and responsibility. So your pelvic floor is not getting any help that it needs. And there's a time and a place for a belly band, but relying it all day, every day is not good for your body either. And it's important to be able to support your body, not just for the sake of your pregnancy. Truthfully, pregnancy seems like such a long time when you're in the midst of it. But it's such a short amount of time of your life in general. Like truly look at it. It's not even a year, right? And yeah, even if you have multiple pregnancies, it's a few years, right? But postpartum is so long, like you're with your kids, like it's such a short period of time in your life, even though in the midst of it, it feels long. And so if we are just we're like, oh, pregnancy's like, we'll just get through it. It'll be fine. But then we ended up postpartum and we're still not able to support our pelvis. We're still not able to have like strength and stability in our body. Then we have problems because your body after kids is forever. And I've seen so many women months to years postpartum to literally decades postpartum who are still struggling with problems that they had during their pregnancy or immediately postpartum that they just kept putting off because one, we don't have time. We're moms. We're like, when do we have time to go do this? When can we? We're too busy taking care of our children and everything else that it feels like you just get put on the back burner all the time. That's one reason. Two, you think it's just normal and just a part of it. And you've been told that because no one's known what to tell you or what to do. So instead of finding the answer and finding the solution so that way you can have relief, so you can cough and sneeze in peace without peeing yourself, so you can pick up your child, so you can have a strong core, so you can avoid abs, not necessarily avoid ab separation, but so you can overcome the ab separation, the diastasis recti, like because no one's been able to like pinpoint like, oh, why are you having pain? What can we do to fix that? They're just like, oh, it's just normal. It's just what it is. And then everyone gets told, oh, it's just normal. It's just what it is. So then the more times you ask about it, the more people are like, oh, yeah, I had it. It's just normal. Right? Like that's what happens. It turns into this big snowball effect. So now we have this pregnancy pain that is incredibly common. And now it's just deemed normal because there haven't been enough people out there going, hey, this is what you can do for your pain. That isn't a belly band, Tylenol, and heat. That doesn't fix anything. That just puts a Band-Aid on it and hopes that you feel better later. So exercises aren't working because it's just like putting a Band-Aid on it. And then you feel that you have to do exercises every single day. If you miss a day, you're feeling behind. But when you learn the basics of your pelvic floor, when you learn the BSR method, this is where big changes occur, like big relief, like that change of like, wow, I've noticed that I can actually walk. I noticed that I'm not having as much hard time rolling over, or I'm not waking up as often. I can actually get dressed in the morning. I can stand up. You start noticing these little changes, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I really am not having as much pain at all anymore. I can't believe this. It's these little things that you do that add up into these big results that last. And they last through your pregnancy and your postpartum because your body is still doing the same functions postpartum. But now that you've learned how to support your pelvis and how to use the basics of your pelvic floor and things like that, now postpartum, your recovery is easier. You're feeling stronger. You're feeling like you can get up and move around and do these things. And that is so important. Being able to feel good and confident and strong in your body throughout pregnancy, postpartum, and beyond is so important. And I think this is something that we as moms and women struggle a lot with, is just feeling comfortable in our body. And if we don't keep up with certain things, if we like the guilt adds up, the taking care of ourselves ends up being put on the back burner when there's so many other things in front of us, like there's a lot on our plate. And someone just shared recently, and I was talking with one of my really good friends who's like 8 months postpartum. And they shared like, moms, you can't do it all. You can't have a job and be present with your kids and meal prep and work out and spend time with your friends and do all of these things. Like it's just, you're carrying too much of a load. And that's not saying that like you can't have these things, right? Like you should be able to have these things. But when you're trying to do it all, it's so much on your shoulders. It's so much pressure. It's so much responsibility. And then eventually things start to slip and fall. And then you feel like you're not doing enough. And then you feel like you might be failing, or you start to get insecure in your body. And it's just kind of like this domino effect. And so it's okay to not be able to do everything. It's okay to be able to put yourself first. Because I hated when people talked about, you can't fill other people's cups when you're pouring from empty. But truly, and this is something I've been struggling with a lot lately, you really cannot give your best self to others if you aren't taking care of yourself. And so it's not selfish for you to do something for you. It's not selfish for you to spend 5 to 10 minutes doing some movement or exercising or being able to change how you feel, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. Because how you feel is going to translate into how you respond to others, how you interact, how you portray yourself, how you feel is going to show to everyone else around you. And when you feel good and comfortable and confident in your body, that carries over into every other aspect of your life, and vice versa when you don't. And I just want you to be able to feel comfortable and confident and secure and strong and like, yeah, I'm a mom and I did this. And I'm kind of going on a tangent from why your exercises aren't working, but this has been really heavy on my heart. And I don't know if anyone else is struggling with being able to feel good in your body and for yourself. But if you are, you're not alone. And it is okay to take time for yourself. It's okay to say you need a break. It's okay to ask for help. And I think it's important to be able to do all of those things too. That's what I've got. If someone that I love who talks on like mom guilt and motherhood, it's literally motherhood and marriage, is a podcast called Motherhood and Marriage. Marriage and Motherhood? I think it's Motherhood and Marriage. If I got that wrong, I'm really sorry. Her name is Michelle Perda. She's amazing. She has her own podcast. She was on my podcast. There's an episode called Childproofing Your Marriage. Honestly, she's amazing. And I think that she has a lot of insight too on how we feel about ourselves and being able to help overcome some of that guilt and some of the struggles that we have. So I'm going to end it there. Your exercises aren't working because your exercises aren't what you need. You need to be able to implement the BSR method. If you're wanting help with implementing the BSR method, the pain-free pregnancy and postpartum package is what the BSR method is included in there. Or we can set up a one-on-one. I don't advertise one-on-one, so you'd have to send me a message and we can set something up for you. But you deserve to feel like your best self and you deserve to feel comfortable and confident. The pain-free pregnancy and postpartum package is not just you implementing this BSR method and you're on your own guessing. It comes with support, one-on-one messaging, like every step of the way you have guidance and help. As much as you want, as little as you want, but you're not alone in this journey and you're not alone in trying to figure it out. We're all trying to figure it out. But when it comes to feeling good and comfortable in your body throughout your pregnancy and preparing and for labor and birth so you can walk in with confidence and even recovering like postpartum, having a better postpartum experience. I've been there and I've helped so many moms throughout that journey. So I'm here to help you and support you through that. The links for this are down below in the show notes. Make sure you subscribe and I would love it if you rated the podcast and, left a comment or whatnot. And I hope that you come visit next week. That's all I've got for you.
Nothing is TMI when it comes to motherhood, and common doesn't necessarily mean normal. Always trust your gut and never stop advocating for the care you deserve. If you enjoyed this podcast, help it reach more mamas like you by subscribing and leaving a review on your preferred listening platform. Keep in touch with me on Instagram by following Pelvic Floor Momma. See you next time.